Hello, everybody. I'm Craig Centrie.
Hi, my name is Christopher McCann, and I'm here interviewing Craig Centrie. Are you co or founder of your museum?
I'm one of the founders of the museum that actually began with a group that was called the Latino Artist Collective in the late 70s. It really, that group did all of the arts, which included drama and writing and poetry and the visual arts. However, the visual arts part of it, which is El Museo, is really the only part of it that continued on and became institutionalized.
All right. Now, with the title of your museum, El Museo, where did that name come from?
Well, the original group of founders collectively decided that the city of Buffalo was composed of two main Latino groups. One group was Puerto Rican, the other group was Mexican. And although some of this dates a little bit before my time, apparently at one point there was a considerable amount of competition and perhaps even a little bit of friction between these two communities. And in order to sort of bring these two communities together under Latino, it was decided that the name of the organization would honor one Puerto Rican artist, which is Francisco Aguirre, and one Mexican artist, which is Diego Rivera, the famous muralist from Mexico.
What is one thing that's in the gallery that's most precious to you, or that stands out from most objects, or paintings, I should say?
Well, we don't maintain a collection because collections require a lot of space. They're also expensive to maintain. So I wouldn't say that there's a particular piece of artwork that I think is so important, but I think one of the things that I think is really important about the organization is that once upon a time the United States had a lot of these type of organizations in many cities across the country, and now we are actually one of the few remaining organizations that is actually dedicated to the exhibition of artists of color. And so in that sense, the outreach that we do is the thing about the organization that I find most significant or most important. Now, that's not to say that people haven't left artwork behind, or I just forgot about it, that I haven't thought was really, really wonderful. Or sometimes eye it up, in some kind of a way, and occasionally it gets put back up on the wall or something like that. But yeah, I think it's our mission that I find most important.
Now, do you do any art of yourself?
See, that's a really interesting question here. The answer to that is I did do a lot of artwork at one point, especially through the 70s and the 80s. I did oil painting, photography, some film work. The thing that I probably was most good at was the photography part of it. Once I became an administrator, however, my own work got put on the back burner. Okay, let's say I don't do exhibitions anymore. But I continue to do photography for my own enjoyment. And with this collection of stuff that I've done from all this traveling and so forth, still in the back of my mind I have this idea that perhaps at some point I may try to make an exhibition out of a few of these pieces and see where that goes.
Now, do you have any tips or props, well, not props, but tips or any I don't know the word. Yeah, or advice for upcoming photographers?
Well, no, that's an interesting question. I think that art in general is and should be an important part of everybody's life. And I feel that way because art teaches us so many different things. And even if you're not doing it in a formal classroom setting, art really encourages people to think critically, to think for themselves, to develop a really significant or an important inner life, which I think is being taken away from by our attachment to electronic and technology. In other words, we feel as if we have to be entertained all the time through external sources, but the development of a rich inner life really does not allow for boredom and allows us, self-expression. I think a lot of skills that we learn from art are transferable skills to regular life events. And I mean by that, not everybody feels as if they've had a great deal of success in their lives, or that there are more challenges than there are successes and so forth. But to learn that you can take a photograph, or you can take a piece of artwork, a drawing, or a painting, or a dance that you're working on, and you begin essentially from nothing, and you move through this process, and you come to a point when you say, it's finished. All right, this is a success, all right, and how you achieve that success through your painting, through your photograph, through your, through your dance, through your poem, through your writing, that applies to not only life, but also applies to other academics. In other words, yes, you can. Okay, you can begin from something, you can end with something, you can have a success, and I think that that's a very important thing that art is able to contribute to us. So for photography, because that was your question, I think that recording our lives, the lives of our families, our communities, as documentation, as an art form in itself, to be aware of our surroundings, of the people around us, is really, really important. And with a photograph, these photographs now have the capability of being around for, if not a long time, almost forever. So those recordings are kept, okay, and maintained, and I think that photographers should be aware of the significance, the importance that they can play for history, for recording, for bringing interesting aspects of who we are in our communities and our lives to future generations and to people right now who may not be aware of certain things.
Did you create any stories with your photography?
Yes, and now I have to. Yes, I did, and I think probably the biggest, the hardest was returning to Haiti. That was like 30 years ago, and at that time I had a New York State Council on the Grants grant, okay, to do some photography, and what I did was explore the relationship between dance and religion. And I did that in Haiti. It took several summers to be able to do it. In the beginning, I thought I could just walk in there and really understand everything, and I found out very quickly I didn't understand anything at all. And therefore I had to become educated first, okay, on the culture, the role that dance plays in different cultures and societies, how it was particularly expressed in that particular culture, and what best way I could actually photograph it, so that I could bring the story of dance and spirituality together for a public that may not be aware of its significance.
Do you have any other partners that you work with outside of your museum?
You mean institutions that we work with?
Sorry.
Oh, gee, that's like everybody. Well, I can say, Buffalo Public Schools is right now one of our contemporary and one of our finest and most enjoyable partners that we have. We also work with a group called the Buffalo Collective, which is a group of 6 minority cultural organizations in the city who sort of problem solve together jointly. In the future, we may try to apply for grant monies to support our institutions and move them forward. In the past, we have worked with, we have worked with SEPA, we have worked with Hall Walls, we have worked for the Historical Society, for Birchfield, we work with the Albright Knox Art Gallery, we've worked with the Science Museum, we have worked with young audiences, we have worked with institutions that don't exist anymore. And so yes, we've had partners, and as I would say right now, okay, we are working with Buffalo Public Schools, but also just Buffalo. So those are 2 places.
Now, could you tell us anything about the exhibit that you did with the Buffalo Public School? Well,
it is an annual show. It began with something called National Arts Program, and that was a few years ago. National Arts Program, which tries to get the artistic involvement of civil servants as well as teachers and students involved. We felt that the net that they cast was so broad, and the requirements for the numbers of individuals involved kind of surpassed our ability to be able to do it, because our space isn't really huge. It's actually a little small. That we would ourselves choose to narrow it down to the place that we felt we would have most impact. And in that case, we decided to work only with Buffalo Public Schools, Buffalo Public School teachers, and art students. And I think it's been a real success, because it takes time out to honor people who are working so diligently and hard in the arts and putting a face on it.
Now, from all the artwork that you have seen from different museums, institutes, galleries, from all that, could you say anything about that? That would be amazing, or that you would ever try and create yourself?
Well, I mean, I don't know, Chris, now if I'm answering this directly head on the way you want, but if I'm not, you can stop me. Right. Buffalo is and always has been somewhat of an amazing place. I think it has suffered from a bad reputation, in the not too distant past. That's, of course, changing, thankfully. But one thing that it has not suffered from is a lack of creativity in artists. Buffalo has produced an enormous amount of artists, some who have stayed, but many of them who have left. And they have gone to Broadway, and they've gone to Los Angeles, you know what I'm saying, to Hollywood, and universities. And Buffalo has been the inspiration for a huge number of people. And there have been famous people here that I think a lot of Buffalonians don't even know that they were here or that they're from here. Having said that, Buffalo has been, since I can remember, on the cutting edge of the latest in art. So Buffalo really has a focus on modern art. And of course, that's nice. I love it. My own personal stuff is a little bit more traditional. I can say that the stuff that I like the best is almost representational in nature. That's not very popular right now, but nobody, even listening or otherwise, should ever worry about what's popular and what's not popular in terms of what they produce in art. In other words, if you like to do photojournalism, if you like to do a dance form that is no longer, let's say, chic and you follow what it is that you're doing, and the stuff that you love the most is the thing that you're going to do the best.
What inspired you to do art?
Well, I think that to my family's credit, I was the first person in my family that anybody knows of that went to college. I was raised by my grandparents and her extended family, which was considerably large. I think that the farthest any of them had gone to school was 8th grade, and I had one of my favorite aunts, which was my grandmother's sister. I called her aunt, even though it was a great aunt. She only got a chance to go to 3rd grade, right? So, because that's as far as women went in those days, and it's really in 8th grade was like an achievement back then. They were unusually open, despite the fact that they were very traditional in some ways. They didn't want a telephone in the house when I was a kid. They boiled water instead of having a hot water tank. They had recipes, that really went back, I'm sure, to the 19th century or even before. They continued to focus on. Despite this, they were incredibly open-minded and let me do anything I want. It's sort of amazing. If I liked it, it was like, do it. What do you want? Do you want us to give you art supplies? Do you want us to get? They got a piano for me. It was incredibly open-minded, and so nothing was off the table in terms of what I could do. And as a result, I learned early that having a creative part of me was something which was not only good, but something I should continue to pursue. And then later on, when I reached 8th grade, I went to Catholic school. I had a nun. All the nuns were from Cuba. in the school where I went. She had a special conversation with my grandparents saying that she felt that I had artistic talent that needed to be encouraged. And so I did. I continued to hone my own skills. I took classes, sometimes I, self-taught, etc.
Now, when you were growing up say you went to a Catholic school.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm not so sure about this, but when you were in school, did you showcase any art of your own that you have made?
Well, I mean, back then, and we are talking about back then. I mean, really, we were given crayons and drawing paper and pencils and stuff like that. I mean, we were not giving. Like, I'm looking around this room and I'm feeling blown away. It's like, what an advantage you guys have. Okay, that back then we didn't. I mean, you're doing an interview, okay, on your own radio program. Okay, that blows me away. I mean, I'm seeing all these cameras and televisions, and it's just like amazing. All right, to me, and I don't feel bad that I didn't have these things, but I think what a joy. Okay, what an opportunity for students today. Gee, and I really hope everybody is really taking advantage of this and getting into it. Don't worry about money. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I mean, people worry about money. How am I going to play? It's like, yeah, I mean, everybody has to have money. I understand. But if you're doing something that you love, you're going to be really good at it. It's going to give you such life satisfaction.
No, my last question is, sorry if I butcher his name wrong.
Indica, okay.
Like, what is his job?
He was the project director for a program that I came up with, which was an art program, primarily a creative writing program, and a photographic program that we put in Riverside High School, and that was for the academic year 13-14. And it was open free of charge to 30 students. We did target students of color, and particularly recent refugees, but anybody who wanted to do it could do it. And they took really 40 hours of intensive training in digital photography and in creative writing. And so he was our education director for that program there.
Well, that concludes our interview with Craig Centrie. This has been Christopher with Craig Centrie, and see you guys later.